Hello there, children of the popcorn. It is the girly pop of Evil Popcorn, Scream Queen, riding solo today, here to chat about something near and dear to my heart, and that is queer cinema. That's queer horror. The reason I love horror so much is because I feel like it's a safe place for people on the fringes to flock to. I feel like a lot of us find comfort in monsters and in weirdos and freaks, and that of course means that there is a very, very strong legion of queers that love horror too, and I am one of them, and that's why we're all here, aren't we? Because we love horror. So starting off this series, in a way, I guess, I want to be talking about Love Lies Bleeding. It came out in 2024 this year. It was a big hit, both critically and in my soul. I think Love Lies Bleeding is my Barbie movie. It just makes me feel seen in this sort of insane sort of way. And this went straight to my top 4 on Letterboxd. So I just want to preface this by saying I really love this film. I'm going to try and be critical, objective, but I have very little, if any, negative things to say about it. I'm not saying that is because there's nothing negative to say. I'm just not interested in the negativity because I love it. I can't remember the last time I had such an enjoyable theatrical experience. I went to see this movie with my housemates when it came out, and I was laughing, I was gasping, so was everyone in the cinema, or maybe it was just us and we were that loud. Now, this is not a staunch horror movie per se, it's more of a crime thriller, that's how it's classified, but all of us on Evil Popcorn, on the team, and me, I think it deserves a spotlight here because it's directed by Rose Glass, who her debut feature was Saint Maud, which is a religious body horror. So I think she's earned her place here on Evil Popcorn. In full disclosure, I have not seen Saint Maud. This is the only Rose Glass film that I have seen, but I love it, so I can't wait to watch Saint Maud. I know Mr. Popcorn is a big fan of it as well. And yeah, this, to me, very much fits the bill of what we talk about here on Evil Popcorn. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, this will have spoilers, so I really do urge you to watch this film if you haven't already seen it. Yes, it's gay, and that's ultimately why I'm here, but if it's not an automatic incentive for you to watch it, this is also just a brilliantly crafted thriller. It stands against, the best, in my opinion. It's amazing. So what is it about, Love Lies Bleeding? So it is set in 1989 in New Mexico. Our main character is Lou, a nicotine-addicted gym manager. This gym is sort of insane, classic, sweaty 80s muscle posters, things like pain is weakness leaving the body. It's amazing. She spends all her day laminating memberships, dodging Daisy, a local girl who has a thing for her, and unclogging the communal toilet, which we see in very graphic detail in one of the opening shots. So Lou has always lived in New Mexico. This is where her dad, who we'll learn about, and her sister lives. Her sister Beth is in an abusive marriage with a very greasy rat boy played by Dave Franco. Perfect casting, in my opinion. His name's JJ. She has a strained relationship with her dad, who is played by Ed Harris, who is an exotic bug enthusiast who owns the gym that Lou works for and also the local gun range, and is also the ringleader of all sorts of crime that goes on in New Mexico, and including arms trade, murder, everything under the sun. So what breaks up the status quo of this movie is the introduction of Jackie, played by Katie O'Brien. So Jackie is this want-to-be bodybuilder from Oklahoma, small town. She has great ambitions of becoming this bodybuilder, of winning this competition that's coming up in Las Vegas. And Jackie starts working at the gun range that Lou's dad owns, and starts joining the gym and catches Lou's eye immediately. Jackie is ripped, absolutely shredded. She is incredibly passionate about bodybuilding, and she may have scrunchie in her hair, but she is not someone to be messed with. She has this impulsive streak, which we are introduced to very early on as well. So the two immediately connect. They instantly clock each other as queer. There's this beautiful interaction where they're sort of talking for the first time. Lou's just closed the gym. There are some men eyeing Jackie off from the gym, and they're like, I don't know if you should be talking to her, Jackie. Like, Lou here is a grade A dyke, and Jackie, absolutely unswayed by this, says, "Oh, is that so?" And I just, it's beautiful. I love it. Like, just their immediate lust for each other. I'm just obsessed. How can you not be? The actors, Katie O'Brien and Kristen Stewart, have such great chemistry. If I didn't mention that, Lou is played by Kristen Stewart, who is very much a household name from Twilight especially, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So Lou hooks Jackie up with some free steroids after finding out about her competition to, beef her up. She injects the steroids into her butt cheek. It's all very intimate, and the rest is history. Jackie needs a place to stay, and Lou needs something to put her energy into. So it's sort of the perfect storm for these two characters where they're at. Let's talk about the casting for a second. I mentioned Kristen Stewart just before. She is fucking great in this movie. She's so good. I personally have always been a fan of her. I was there for the Twilight movies. Say what you will about them. I think I mentioned them. I've mentioned them before, surely. But I think they're ridiculous and wonderful. And she was definitely a part of my gay awakening, whether I knew about it or not. Like, all the way back to Zathura, which is like that alien board game movie where she plays the sort of like angsty older sister. I'm obsessed with Kristen Stewart. I feel like she copped a lot of shit in the Twilight days about her acting style and how she only has the one facial expression, or she can't act. But since, she's really established herself as this amazing actress, and her subtlety does wonders for Lou in this film. I think it is perfectly cast. Lou is this twitchy, paranoid, protective character, and she's also she's funny. This film is really funny. It just has these little lines in there that really make it that sort of campy, like 80s thriller of my dreams. It's not zingers or anything like that, but just these little lines that Kristen Stewart imbues with these just like subtle, just hilarious moments. I'll be making a few references to a few articles and things that I've come across on the internet, and I found this article by a film critic named Lena Wilson from Seventh Row, and there's this beautiful scene in the movie where Kristen Stewart, Lou, is on the phone to her dad, Ed Harris, basically threatening him. We'll find out a little bit more about what happens, but they're having an argument, and she threatens him, and Ed Harris goes, "Are you threatening me?" And there's this beautiful pause, and Wilson puts it perfectly here. While trying to intimidate her career criminal father, she answers him with a perfectly timed, somehow emotionally complex, yep. That's all that she says, but it's so funny. It's so perfect. Katie O'Brien as Jackie as well is incredible. It's sort of one of her breakout roles, and she's just perfect for it. She's insanely buff, which certainly helps, but she also brings such a rich history to Jackie that we're not privy to as the audience, but we can feel that history in every decision that Jackie makes, in every act of violence that she commits, and it's just such a strong performance from Ed Harris as well. Everyone in this movie is great. Like I said, the casting of Dave Franco as the little rat husband is ideal, with his disgusting little mullet. There's a lot of mullets in this movie as well. It's very true 80s fashion in that sense. The design, the aesthetic, the sweaty griminess of this film is just delightful. And now we're here to talk about queer horror and queer cinemas. Let's talk about the queer representation in this film. So another quote from Lena Wilson's article, which I think sums it up so beautifully, is, "These women have been starving for love their whole lives, so you can't blame them for becoming gluttons once they find it in each other." And it's so true. They are instantly hooked on each other, which is sort of a pattern in this film, for sure. This love story is so queer. The speed with which they become entangled with one another, they become devoted to one another, is insane, and might be surprising to some, but I feel like that is so true to the gay experience of just immediately hooked. This film is also very erotic, very sexy. Like I said, there's so much sweat and bodies. Like, the opening shots of the film is a lot of people in the gym, a lot of sweaty nipples, hairy chests. So if you're into that, you'll love it. But this film is so clearly made by queer women, obviously the two leads and also Rose Glass. And they know exactly what queer intimacy is like, and they're not afraid of it. And I think that is so refreshing as well. And there's no agenda except to just see them experience pleasure, and for it to be messy, and for it to be, I'm going to say sweaty a lot. This film is very sweaty. So much sweat. Their sweat budget must have been extreme. And it's ferocious, and it's I'll also say delicious a lot. It's delicious. The close-up shots of Lou admiring Jackie's bulging muscles. It's everything. Lou is in awe of Jackie, and it's so clear, and it's just electric. Something great about this movie is it's also not about these characters agonizing over their queerness in any way. And yes, it's the 80s, which was a hard time for the gay community, for sure. But and they have little references to that, little jabs against Lou, like the one I mentioned earlier. There's also moments with her sister's husband, JJ, Dave Franco's character, where he makes little comments and things. But the root problem of the film is not because they are gay. And in fact, Lou even says that her dad is cool with it and doesn't care. He just has a lot of other problems, which we'll talk a little bit about now. So I talked a bit about this film's really razor-sharp aesthetic, and we're introduced to that through these red shots, like red lighting just washed over everything. We sort of introduce them as Lou's memories of her dad, washed in red, of this cavern, all red roads, this glowing red that is very dark and very sinister, and Lou continues to return to these images, and they sort of hint at something awful that her dad has done, or maybe she has done, or maybe she has been coerced to do. And that's where the sort of really strong thriller elements come in. You sort of get lost in maybe the characters' relationship. Lou and Jackie are so intoxicating. You sort of forget that there is this sinister underlying feeling throughout the whole movie. So we have that in these sort of red flashbacks, and we have that in sort of these moments where you see Jackie's muscles sort of growing, stretching, and it's really, really off-putting and really uncomfortable, and it really leans into that. It's clear that Lou's dad has a very strong hold over her, and maybe that's the reason that she hasn't been able to leave New Mexico. She says that the only reason she stays is because her sister Beth, and this abusive relationship that she's in, and to protect Beth. But she also, Lou also works at the gym that her dad owns. She's still under his control in a way, and she can't even admit this to Jackie. She says that she just works there and she doesn't know anything about it, but she does, and he says this later, like he has sort of all of this dirt on her. We also have these sort of cops that pop in and out that are questioning Lou about the disappearance of her mother. So is she part of that conspiracy? Does she really know what happened to her mother? There's all of these questions that start to sort of weigh on Lou and the audience as well. You're like, what happened? And is there something so sinister about that relationship with her and her father? And a big point of tension between her and Jackie is that Jackie has started working at her father's gun range as well. So she's constantly asking, like, why are you working there? Or you shouldn't be working there. Or Jackie is probing Lou about, why doesn't she like her dad, and what's happened, and what happened to her mum. But Lou is always dodging these questions. And it's not until something ugly happens that we sort of start to get a better idea of what's happening. So what seems like a tale of young gay infatuation quickly turns into a mess of murder, of revenge. Beth, Lou's sister, is hospitalized by JJ, her husband. She is in really, really bad shape, and this is sort of confirming Lou's worst fears. She's not been able to talk her sister out of this relationship. She says she wants to kill him in a conversation that her and Jackie have had earlier, and now this has happened to Beth, and she is just beside herself, and Jackie comes with her to the hospital, and seeing Lou in this state, Jackie sort of starts to freak out, and this is where we are introduced to the more sort of surreal elements, especially in Jackie's character, is the muscles growing, this sort of haze, this fuzziness, this paranoia is growing in Jackie, and she leaves to go kill JJ in a fit of blind red rage. She just slams his head into a coffee table, and the deed is done. And this film is not afraid of gore as well. There are only a few moments where it really gets gory, but it gets gory. Dave, they're the same. Dave Franco's jaw hinges open, and it's done. And she is so terrified of what she's done, but she can't stop herself. And this is where Jackie's temper, Jackie's impulsivity rears its ugly head. And Lou, coming upon this gruesome scene, is shocked, obviously, but more than anything, she's just worried about Jackie. And she is there as her devoted lover to clean up her mess. to roll his body into a rug and figure out what to do next. It's the practicality that really gets me. It's just so like, okay, great. So Jackie's done this. That's fine. But how are we going to sort it out? And that's how entwined they are with each other. That's how in love they are with each other. And is it hard to believe? Maybe if you're straight. For me, that's just another day at the office. It's so funny the way that Lou just takes all of this on and takes it in stride and tries to figure out a way forward. It's perfect. It really embodies the ancient phrase, be gay, do crime. This whole movie is just that. So let's talk about some of the key themes in this movie. To me, I feel like the themes that are most interesting to me are obviously the theme of addiction, of destiny, and of codependency. They are sort of explored in every facet of this film. Addiction is, it's there from the get-go. Lou listening to her tapes on how to quit smoking while smoking cigarettes. We, of course, have Jackie's addiction to steroids that sort of causes her spiral out of control. And we have their addiction to each other. Jackie and Lou's addiction for each other. And just how that intensity, the sacrifices we will make, the things that we will do, the awful, terrible things that we will do for that fix. And there's this beautiful scene, I will talk about this montage in more depth, but we see Lou throw out the cigarettes, and then on top of that we have the egg yolks from Jackie's omelets. So she's trading one addiction for the other the whole time that, her relationship with Jackie is on the up. She doesn't need to smoke because she has this new infatuation. I think codependency is a really key theme as well. It's sort of reflected in all of the relationships in this movie. Of course, we have the codependency of Jackie and Lou. They need each other. They need each other so desperately that they will do anything. They will cover up murder. They will excuse violence for one another so blindly. Just complete blind faith in one another. It's laughable, honestly, because it seems so ridiculous, but it's so genuine in this film that you have to love it. And you have to believe in its authenticity. And then, of course, we have the codependency of Beth, Lou's sister, and her husband, is even though that is an abusive relationship, her sister can't bear the fact that he has died, that she is alone, that he will never come back. And there's real tragedy in that relationship. And there's obviously their dad. Their dad provides for them, cares for them, and has sort of taken Lou under his wing at some points in her life. And although she acts like she's not, she's still reliant on him, whether she likes it or not, and whether she can admit that to herself or not. And that becomes very, very clear towards the end of the film. It becomes clear in terms of destiny as well, as Jackie is someone that sees her destiny as of this competition. So I personally, maybe destiny isn't the right word, but I think this film really speaks to the paths that these characters head on being paths that they can't control, that they are always destined to walk. Lou is such an interesting character because she spends so much of the film trying to distance herself from her dad and his violent track record and the violence that he continues to perpetuate. But in the very end of the film, when it comes down to someone she loves being in danger, she will do anything. She will commit acts of violence. And there is this idea that they are the same in a way. And he even says to her, he was like, you think that we're not alike, but we are. And she vehemently disagrees. But it's so fascinating because we are seeing that destiny sort of fulfill itself in a way. Like, spoiler alert, he doesn't die, but he gets arrested, and it's like in his legacy stopping, it's passed on to Lou in a way. And there's also this insane scene with Lou and her sister Beth, and Beth is protecting another violent man, her father, and being like, I don't know where he is. Lou is obviously looking for him, and Lou is like, you're a moron. She spent this whole movie trying to protect Beth, and she just goes, you're a moron. And it's just so bizarre. And she threatens Beth with physical violence as well. Even though she spent, her adult life protecting Beth from physical violence. It's that cycle. And it's so interesting in this movie as well, because Jackie is someone who is so sure of what her destiny is to win this competition, and will do anything to get there. And Lou is a character that is sort of running away from that, and in running away from it, walks straight into that destiny as well. Just food for thought, just something I found interesting, that I found really compelling about this film as well. Let's talk about some highlights. It's a big film. I'm not going to go beat for beat, but there are some. The whole movie is amazing. Watch it. But there are some scenes that really, really stood out for me and really sort of encapsulated like what is so great about this movie. The first time my jaw dropped in the cinema would be I'm going to call it the muscle montage. So it's Lou and Jackie very much in the like honeymoon phase of their relationship. They've had one night together, and Jackie's living there now because she doesn't have a place to stay. She's trying to get beefed up for this competition in 2 months. Lou lets her stay there, and is sort of her new project in a way, is helping Jackie get really strong and eat well. And so there's this wonderful moment where Jackie goes, oh, this omelet's good, but next time don't put the yolks in it. And then this wonderful montage starts of Jackie's muscles, her poses, Lou separating the yolks from the egg whites, throwing the yolks in the bin, protein smoothie spilling down Jackie's chest, Lou licking it up. It's fantastic, and it really sets the tone for this film of just their obsession with each other, the body worship of it all. It's so it's just perfect. It's just perfect, and tonally perfect for this film. And we of course have Jackie's competition scene, which I haven't really talked a lot about, so let's get into it. So this competition, of course, comes the day after Jackie has brutally murdered someone, and Lou has set fire to the evidence to draw the cops to her dad as the culprit. Lou needs Jackie to lay low, but of course she's been working towards this competition for months. She's not going to let a little murder get between her and her bodybuilding competition. So she gets physical with Lou. She hits her to make sure that she can get there on time. If Lou's not going to come with her, then she's just an obstacle. And Jackie needs to be at this competition. It's the only thing that she's holding onto at this point. It's the only thing that is her identity is so wrapped up in this competition at this point that she has to go. And she's also roided up and starting to really, really lose grip on reality. People's, eyes are bulging out of their skull. She's hallucinating. She's hearing things. She shows up at the competition on the come down. And this part really reminds me, it's very much giving I, Tonya, when she's trying to put the makeup on and she's crying. And it's got the same sort of tragedy of that, and it's just a mess. But Jackie's way of coping, of course, is more steroids. We see her smile her way through the competition, and she shines in her solo routine. There's like a really beautiful moment where everything's fine and she's doing really well. But then, of course, she starts hallucinating. She starts visualizing a fiery cavern in front of her. She vomits up Lou, coated in bile, asking her questions, interrogating her. And we find out that she's thrown up on stage. She can hear laughter. She can hear people making fun of what she's eating, like the other competitors, and she just starts beating up one of her other competitors. She's completely lost touch with reality at this point, and all she knows is this sort of violent reaction to things. Yeah, this is easily one of the most bizarre points of the movie, but it really solidifies its brilliance to me. It is just bombastic and strange and so hard to look away, but also hard to watch. Now, let's talk about the ending of this film. So after Jackie gets recruited by Lou's dad to clean up Lou's mess and seek his own sort of revenge, Jackie kills Daisy, a girl that Lou has previously had a relationship with, and saw them going to hide the body of JJ. And Lou's reaction is perfect. She's just like, no, like, we didn't do anything. Like, she's covered in Daisy's blood, but still her primary concern is making sure that Jackie doesn't think that she's unfaithful, because that would be the worst thing of it all. It's incredible. She rolls Daisy up in a blanket. Her cat is licking at the brain juice. It is piling ridiculous after ridiculous, all leading up to arguably the most controversial part of the movie, which is this gigantic woman sequence, all capital letters. Now, some people who just don't understand how good this movie is. No, you can have your own opinions. That's fine. I'll have mine, which is Jackie. At the end of this film, we've had these stretching, growing muscle shots throughout. The seed has been planted. Watching Gulliver's Travels on television, the seed has been there from the start. Jackie is going to become this giant, hulking giant and pin down Lou's dad so he gets found by the cops. And it's this final act of service to Lou. Well, not final, but it is the sort of ultimate act of service to Lou. Lou gets shot, and it's hearing her lover crying out in pain that activates this transformation into this huge woman. And she grows, and it's amazing, and it's Lou and Jackie giant running in the clouds, in the stars, free. And it's just beautiful because it's the way that Lou perceives Jackie as this savior, as this hulking hero, and I'm just here for it. I loved this movie up until this point, of course. I was loving it, but I don't think that this film would be anywhere near as groundbreaking to me personally if we don't get Giant Jackie in the end. It just takes a complete 180 from the thriller you were expecting, and I think this is why Rose Glass is such an exciting director, is because she'll do the strange thing, she'll do the bizarre thing because she wants to, and because she should, because there should be a giant lesbian like pinning down her lover's abusive father and letting her shove a gun in his mouth. Like, that should happen in every movie. I think there should be a giant character saving the love of their life. I just think it's beautiful, and the ending of this film is just so wonderful and so wonderfully queer. They run off into the sunset in Lou's ute. They take Happy Meal, Lou's cat, with them. They have a body in the back. Jackie's second, possibly more, victim rolled up in a rug. Lou's ex-lover. They're happy. They're smiling. They're going to California like they've always wanted to. We hear thudding in the back. Oh no, Daisy is alive. And Lou gets out, being the masked lesbian she is. She's going to take care of Jackie, and she's going to get out. She's going to strangle Daisy until she's not breathing anymore, and she's going to drag her body out into a field, and she's also going to steal Daisy's cigarettes, and she's going to start smoking again. It's so funny and so tongue-in-cheek, and it's just makes this movie an instant hit for me. I could just go on and on about it, and I am going on and on about it. Thank you, Mr. Popcorn and Baron, for really letting me just talk about this movie. I've also seen a lot of critiques about this movie of not developing character enough, of not revealing enough about the character's traumas to the audience, but I think that's one of its strengths. I think the mystery of Jackie and what has happened to her is such a fun question to hang over the audience, and it makes us think. Like, I'm still thinking post watching that film, what happened to Jackie, and has she killed before, and why does her foster parent call her a monster when she calls on the payphone? Like, these characters have done really, really bad things, but somehow they have found each other and they don't care about any of it, and maybe we don't need to know, because maybe the mystery is enough, and maybe the mystery is exciting enough to make us care about these characters and where they're going next, where they're moving forward to, not away from. And I just think that's really beautiful. The soundtrack is by Clint Mansell? Yes, Clint Mansell, who did the Requiem for a Dream soundtrack, who did the Black Swan soundtrack, so very much in his bag of showing someone's descent into madness. This soundtrack is so wonderful. I listen to this when I'm writing sometimes, like writing a thriller, I get really into it. So big fan of the soundtrack as well. But obviously I'm a big fan about everything, so I just love this movie so much. That is clear. It simultaneously takes itself so seriously, but also not seriously at all, and it balances that perfectly. The aesthetic is so detailed. It doesn't pull any punches, like figuratively and literally. It is unafraid of its grotesqueness. It's unafraid of its queerness. It perfectly distills the intensity of homosexual relationships. I think this perfectly encapsulated in the scene in the tennis court where Lou rescues Jackie from being kidnapped by her father, and Jackie, JJ has killed Daisy, and Jackie asks, am I a bad person? And Lou just says, no, of course not. And they are ride or die. She is with her to the end. No matter how many more murders she commits, Lou is in deep, and they both are so in love with each other. That is the reality of the queer experience, and that is why this sits very high on my list of queer horror thrillers, of just queer cinema in general, and for a lot of other people as well. It just really hit home. Even if you think it is fantastical or magical realism, there is a deep truth buried in that about what our relationships are like. You're not going to be surprised to know that this is an easy, evil popcorn for me. 5 out of 5. Delicious, delectable. I would eat it every day if I could. It just makes me so excited to, 1, go back and watch Saint Maud, and 2, to see everything that Rose Glass does next. I want women making films. I want queer women making films, and I want people to see them because, oh my God, look what we can do. Isn't that amazing? Thank God for lesbians. Thank God for bisexuals. Thank God for all of us. Yeah, and thank you for listening. I hope you have a very, very good night, and remember, all your favourite monsters are just gay metaphors. Scream Queen out.